All right, it is sort of the end of game week. For us, it is. It's our last time being able to be around the team before they actually have a game. And Adam, you ready?
I'm so ready for this football game. If I had to do one more analysis video without actually seeing football, I might lose my mind.
Well, at least we don't have to. This is the last one.
Yes.
Last time you all have to hear from us before there's actual games. Kind of an interesting day, first day of classes, so we didn't get really any players today. But did you get any before they cut us off?
No, just had Traveris Tillman, the cornerbacks coach, and it was good to pick his brain. It sounds like the cornerbacks and just the defense in general got a little bit better towards the end of the preseason, which is encouraging because they had really struggled early in the preseason, and so it was good to get his thoughts on that. And said Chris Miller, who was banged up in the spring, was pretty rusty coming into camp, but it sounds like he's game ready. So they've got three guys ready to go there. Tariq Luckett, who we keep hearing about there at cornerback after he moved over from receiver. Traveris Tillman was very honest. He says, need a couple more weeks to get him ready to at least know all the calls and everything. So Mekhi Blackman is going to play some of that star role as well, it sounds like. And so they really need those three guys to stay healthy.
They really do. When Tariq, who's the young guy we've been hearing the most about, is still a couple weeks away. But he did say Tariq, he goes, he's going to be really good because he's long and goes up for the ball like a receiver and goes out to get it. But yeah, he had a lot of good things to say about Mekhi as well. You asked about his ball hawking ability, and boy, he really does go after the ball.
You can't coach that.
Yeah.
Some guys we saw. Have come through here that just have that ability or not. Yeah, you can coach them up in other areas, but Mekhi Blackman's going to get some takeaways this season.
Yeah, I agree. I would guess, a little bit of a prediction, I guess, right here. Okay. Does he lead this team in interceptions?
I think so.
You think so?
I think he's the guy.
All right. If it's not him, maybe Nate Landman, just the way he kind of jumps in there and grabs a few passes.
Delaware Abrams Jr., I think his ball skills improved throughout last year, so he'd be another guy there. Aaron Maddox, maybe, as a dark horse candidate there. Onu.
Sam Neuer. Not quite ready to go there? Okay, all right. So we were both kind of in on Tillman, and obviously some good things. I guess some positive things overall about the cornerbacks, I would say, that group is still a ways away, but there's some good talent there.
And Warren Jackson is going to be a big challenge for them on Friday night. That's my number one concern about this football game because Colin Hill has an arm too.
Right.
If Jackson and their other receivers can get behind the CU secondary, I think that's what CSU. That's their only hope to win this football game, to be honest with you. And I think they will make some plays over the top because the secondary we've heard has been pretty inconsistent this preseason. So limit those to a couple, and Colorado will be just fine.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting in this game because CSU the last few years we've heard a lot about their offensive weapons, and they've had those really good NFL receivers, but they scored 23 points combined the last three times against CU. So it's going to be interesting what they can do against this Mel Tucker defense. But Mel Tucker, the last time what we're going to hear from him before the game, he was asked a lot about if these guys are ready, and he's kind of said the same thing that he's always said, that pressure's no big deal. I mean, that's a privilege. These guys, we put them under pressure in practice, and so they shouldn't be that big. It shouldn't be that big of a deal to go out to a game. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, and he made a good point. If you don't feel pressure going into the season opener, then you probably don't care enough, right?
Right.
I think it's like that with any job that's going to challenge you. You've got to sometimes feel that a little bit to really push yourselves, and so as long as he said, as long as it's not anxiety, then they'll be just fine. I'm anxious to see how good the communication is defensively.
Right.
Again, another key in this football game is if those six guys that are going to be starting their first game at CU play just okay, I think Colorado blows them out.
Yeah.
I don't think they have to be world beaters, those six guys that are stepping into a starting role here. They just have to be adequate.
Yeah, I did ask Tucker. I agree with him that he's mentioned pressure versus anxiety. Anxiety is if you're not prepared. But I did ask him kind of human nature if that takes over. There's a lot of guys going to be on this field on Friday night for CU that have never been in a stadium like this. They've never been in a college game. They've never seen 70,000 people in the stands. And I had a former assistant coach here once tell me, I asked him about some freshmen. I said, how good are they going to be? Because I have no idea. He goes, I don't know until they get into a game because some of these guys really buckle under that pressure. Yeah. And so that's the one thing you can't duplicate out here in practice. You can make practice harder, but you don't have stands going up high with 70,000 people in it. And so that's what I'm curious to see is how these young guys that have never had to deal with that, and there's guys on this team that have been here but have never had to play. They were on the team last year but didn't really play. So I think there's a lot of guys that I'm curious to see how they handle that.
Well, it's CSU's first game of the year too, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to have that going on their
Right.
sideline too. Honestly, if CSU's as bad as people think they are,
Yeah.
and CU does blow them out, I think the real test, even though it's at home, is probably next week against Nebraska, right? For those
Right.
freshmen, those young guys, that's when they're really going to get tested again. Assuming CSU is not going to be good,
Yeah.
the over/under on their wins this year is 3.5. That's what the odds makers set. So they better go out there and blow them out, and then I think the real pressure would come next Saturday against Nebraska.
Yeah, and 3.5 is a lot different than CU's 4.5 because you're talking 3.5 in the Mountain West, which
Yeah.
is not a great conference. So yeah, I get asked about that, about what's the real barometer for this team, and you and I have talked about this before. I think the only way we really know a whole lot about CU after Friday night is if they don't look good against CSU. I think if they don't look good, then you can say, boy, this is going to be a rough year. But if they look good, then yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be really next week. That's when we'll really figure out.
If they come out and win 52-3,
Yeah.
you take some of that,
Right.
and you feel pretty good about this team.
Yeah.
But boy, talk about pressure. They have to win this football game if they're going to go to a bowl game this year.
Right.
Obviously, that's stating the obvious here.
If this is like a 2015 where they win in overtime on a field goal,
Yeah.
it's a win, but I think that's not going to sit well with fans. So should we do predictions at this point?
Sure. Well, let's kind of talk about a little bit of the matchups too.
Yeah.
We talked about Warren Jackson, Colin Hill, that connection. You want to keep an eye on that. We heard
Right.
Tyson Summers say a couple days ago that that's one of the best tight end groups. Cameron Butler, I think, was second team All Mountain West. They have a good punter. Defensively, though, on none of those lists do CSU players show up on there.
Right.
I know they have experience in a few spots, but I would be shocked if CU doesn't put up a lot of points against that defense.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the CU offense is going to look like. CSU last year ranked 117th or 119th nationally, one of those two, in points allowed. And they were over, 108th in points scored. So this is not a great team last year, and there's not a whole lot of starters back. I think it's a handful of guys on the defense and 3 or 4 guys on offense. So not a lot of guys back. So we haven't seen CSU play good defense in a long time. Going back after Tyson Summers was hired here, the best season CSU's had as far as points allowed in the last 9 years was the year Tyson Summers was their DC in 2015.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't a great number, but it was the best the CSU's had in the last 9 or 10 years.
Yeah, one interesting CU connection is Marcus McElroy. I noticed is number 1 on the depth chart at running back. It sounds like they're going to kind of go like CU and play a couple backs, but
Yeah.
he was actually recruited pretty heavily by CU.
Right.
It just took really long time with the recruiting process, so they moved on.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see how he does on Friday night.
Yeah, I'm curious to see him as well. Marvin Kinsey as well is a guy that has played a little bit, so they've got some experienced backs. So offensively, I actually like Colin Hill. I think that he, if healthy, he can be a good quarterback. So offensively, I think they can do some things, and with the things we're hearing about this CU defense, they're going to go have some things as well.
Yeah. If you want me to go into a prediction, that's kind of a good transition there. I do think Colorado State will score some points.
Yeah.
But CU, if they don't score more than 40 points, I'm going to be a little concerned.
Okay.
To be just completely honest with you, I think they should be able to win this game 42. I'm going to say 42-27.
Okay. I'm a little more conservative. You're going to be concerned if my score is right because I got 31-17 Buffs, and
Yeah.
I think it's a going away 31-17. I'm curious to see what this offense is going to look like. I'm still a little skeptical until we see it about this offensive line, about what they really have at running back, and I'm just curious. 2 years ago we thought they were going to blow out CSU, and I think it was 17-3. So
Yeah.
they were supposed to have that high-powered offense that year, and it was 17-3. So compared to that, I'll take 31.
So I'm nervous for the CU fan that bet $20,000 and moved the line in Vegas. Did you see that?
No.
The line actually moved. I think it was 12.5, and it's now 13.5 after this $20,000
Wow.
bet went in. Obviously, we don't bet on games because we're covering them.
Yeah.
But I'm nervous for that fan going into this game, especially if you're 14 points, because he's going to be sweating that out.
He is going to be sweating that out. I might take a late James Stefano field goal, with JT Bale as the snapper. So I got to mention JT Bale once again. I got to make up for the other day. But either way, I think both of us are pretty confident the Buffs win this thing going away.
Yeah, and that's it. I'm done talking. Let's watch some football.